It's here. Pocket Health A to Z. Pocket Health A to Z is a handy little nutritional guide. When it comes to vitamins and minerals, Pocket Health makes it easy and simple for you by giving you the food sources and the nutritional benefits of those vitamins and minerals that we need for good health. Plus, Pocket Health provides added information that you will find beneficial. Don't wait. Pick up a copy of Pocket Health A to Z today and choose to feel your best.
One of the greatest empires in world history was the Mali Empire. The Mali Empire was one of the most prosperous and powerful empires in the antiquity of Africa. Its growth and expansion from the 13th century onwards was legendary and pivotal in the history and culture of Western Africa. The Mali Empire Volume 1 from author J.P. Martin, available on Amazon, is a book which provides the full historical record of the Mali Empire. From their control over the trans-Saharan trade routes and development of great cities such as Timbuktu, to their influential royal class who produced notable African kings such as Mansa Musa, Sundiata Keita, and Mansa Abubakar Keita II, the Mali Empire made a significant impression. This book is perfect for anyone interested in learning more about the history of Western Africa. Order your copy right now on Amazon. The Mali Empire, Volume 1, from author J.P. Martin. Go to Amazon.com and get your copy today.
Peace, family. I hope all is well. I hope your Friday is going well. Oh, yeah, I'm unmuted. I'm unmuted. Tomorrow, Georgia Bulldogs play. Them dogs play tomorrow. Make sure you have your eyes and channels tuned in. All right, Georgia plays Ball State tomorrow, I think at noon. It's a 12 o'clock game tomorrow, but we are going to win. We're going to run the table this year. We are going undefeated. Ain't nobody touching the dogs. So make sure you tune in to Georgia football tomorrow at noon. Another announcement. Sierra Leone citizenship confirmation was formally announced yesterday by the government. I am taking a group to Sierra Leone for the confirmation. Confirm it. Confirmation. Well, confirm. Sierra Leone citizenship, confirm it. I'm sorry. Confirmation, confirm it, whatever. All right, so I'm taking a group in November. So go to Danfo, D-A-N-F-O, Danfo, D-A-N-F-O.Africa. If you have your DNA results, which link you back to Sierra Leone via African ancestry. So the results have to come from African ancestry. They connect you back to Sierra Leone. Please go to Danfo.Africa to learn more. And when you message me, please include your email. Again, when you message me, please include your your phone number. I'm going to have email. Please include your phone number. I'm sorry. When you message me, when you email me, please include your phone number. Let's jump into today's topic. Mayor Eric Adams that went full xenophobic on us. You would think you're in South Africa, not New York City. But what's interesting about this is what he voted for. This is what you guys voted for. All right. You voted for New York City to be a sanctuary city. Now you're upset. And I'm telling you, listen, Chicago, LA, Washington, D.C., Seattle, New York City, let the immigrants come and enjoy themselves. Allow them to move freely throughout these sanctuary cities. That's what they're for. That's why they're called sanctuary cities. So don't be mad now. Don't complain that you don't have the resources for them. Don't be upset now. Let these people live their best lives in these sanctuary cities. That's what you voted for. Why are you upset now? Why are you complaining about lack of resources? Why are you complaining that, there are homeless people there are homeless Americans on the street? Why are these immigrants getting preferred treatment? Why are you complaining about that? Why are you now complaining about that? Leave these immigrants alone. Let them have access to all the resources, the tools, give them jobs, give them everything, because that's what a sanctuary city is for. So don't be upset now. Give them housing, let them stay in the best hotels. I fully support it. I am in full support. Hey, listen, if you migrate to America, you have a home in New York City, you have a home in Chicago, you have a home in Los Angeles, you have a home in DC, you have a home. Go to these cities. Whatever they are offering, whatever resources they are offering, take full advantage of them, because that's what they bragged about. That's what you guys voted for. That's what you took your booties to the polls for. That's what you strolled to the polls for. What's the other one? No voting, no fucking. Hold on, let me play the video. Hold on. Let me play the video. Let me play the video real quick. Let me play the video. Here we go. This is for y'all. This is for y'all. This is for everybody that voted for Biden. This is for you guys. Let's roll the film. Let's roll the tape. Hold on.
Straight checks, I think we got one.
It's voting season, bruh.
No voting, no loving. No voting, no touching. No voting, no nothing. No voting, no fucking, no voting, no fucking. No voting, no loving. No voting, no touching. No voting, no nothing. No voting, no fucking, no voting, no fucking. BLK app looking for some action. Swagger homie Scott was heavy. Face is a 9, abs a 10, D is a to be determined. He got mad jokes, he don't seem broke. The only red flag, he said he don't vote. This midterms for all the single cute. Wanna hit this booty, gotta do your civic duty. No voting, no loving. No voting, no touching. No voting, no nothing. No voting, no fucking, no voting, no fucking. No voting, no loving. No voting, no touching. No voting, no nothing. No voting, no fucking, no voting, no fucking.
Yeah, don't stop now. Stuff my ballot box again, but my homegirl through. Put the buy in partisan. Politics be so nasty. Make me wanna flirt ya. Show you how to be a poll worker. Legs in the air, I don't care. Anyone could get it. Universal health care. If you wanna come before the deadline. Come in the jacuzzi, gerrymander this coochie.
No voting, no love, no voting, no touch. No voting, no nothing. Can't let me down, gotta stand up for something. No voting, no love, no voting, no touch. No voting, no nothing. BLK, we gon' stand up for something.
This is what you guys voted for. I can't believe they treating the immigrants better than the Black American. We built this country. I can't believe they treating the immigrants better than the Black folks who built this country. This is what you voted for. This is what you voted. This is Joe Biden. And you know what? I love Joe Biden. I love Joe Biden. Joe Biden said his top two priorities were going to be immigration and the LGBTQIA community. That's what he said, and he's honoring his word. And that's what you guys voted for. Joe Biden is a man of his word, and he's doing his job. I love Joe Biden. Love him. So why are you complaining now about the immigration problem? Why are you upset now that the immigrants are being treated better than us, Black American? We built this country. We built this country. Go, Joe. I love you, Joe Biden. I love him. This is what you got. Hold on. Give me a second. Guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button again, please. Hit the like button again. Please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Sorry about that, guys. Please hit the like button. That's your price of admission.
I just lost thousands of dollars as a business until I started running my creatives on Snapchat ads. Right now, if you set up an ad.
Welcome back. This morning, hundreds of migrants are still without homes. They are sleeping at the airport in some cases, outside of Chicago police departments. And as they wait for help, they say the city isn't offering any answers. Garrett Tenney joins us with more. Garrett.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of these community meetings get pretty heated. This one held last night in the West Loop about the latest temporary migrant housing situation. It was a bit calmer than normal, but there were still plenty of questions and concerns. As many as 196 single adult migrants will be moving into the Parthenon hostel as soon as next Friday. Some of the biggest concerns for folks who live here are safety and security, given some of the issues that we've seen come up at other migrant shelters in the city. One mother whose daughter attends a daycare right next to the hostel asked what kind of background checks have been done on these migrants.
I cannot guarantee that everybody that comes into any of our shelters has had a
background check. What kind of background check? Are you serious? Y'all wasn't talking that when during election season. Y'all were saying, well, Miss Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, are you guys going to give background checks? Are you guys going to make background checks mandatory for the immigrants when they come? You guys were asking for that shit during election season. No background checks. Let them come in. Let the migrants come. Let them come. No background checks, no nothing. And move around within the community freely. That's what you voted for.
a background check that we can look at reliably.
Yeah, just this week, police arrested a 20-year-old migrant who was living at the 12th District Police Station after he threatened and assaulted an officer. The other big concern folks expressed last night is that even a year into this crisis, the city still doesn't have a larger long-term plan for handling the thousands of migrants who've arrived, nearly 14,000 in the last year. That is a point of frustration shared by a growing number of members of the city council as well, who, along with state lawmakers, are continuing to ask the Biden administration for more help for all the cities across this country that are now taking the brunt of this migrant crisis.
That's who you voted for. That's what you voted for. That's what you voted for. Let the migrants be great. They get treated better than the Black Americans. Oh boy, here we go. Oh boy, here we go. Yo, don't you got a dissertation to write, Lumumba? Hold on, let me remind Lumumba who the national champions are. Must I remind you? Must I remind you who the national champions are. You know, Eric B., I'm going to put the link in the chat room in probably around 20 minutes. Call in, and I like Lumumba to add to that too. So let's play this this speech that Mayor Adams gave, Eric Adams of New York. I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. But let's play this speech real quick. Let's roll the footage.
We've turned this city around in 20 months. And then what happened? Started with a madman down in Texas, decided he wanted to bus people up to New York City. 110.
How are you blaming Governor Abbott? Hold on. How are you blaming Governor Abbott? You guys are a sanctuary city. New York City is a sanctuary city. All right. So he's just doing the right thing. Listen, there's no sanctuary cities here in Texas. We're going to send you to New York. There's nothing wrong with that. What's the problem with that? You guys are a sanctuary city. You guys said that immigration was going to be one of your top priorities. So what's the issue? Why are you complaining now about Governor Abbott sending the immigrants to New York City? I don't see a problem with it.
Thousand migrants. We have to feed, clothe, house, educate the children, wash their laundry sheets, give them everything they need, health care. And this team here, we stated, let's do everything possible before we have to push it out into neighborhoods and communities. Month after month, I stood up and I said, this is going to come to a neighborhood near you. Well, we're here. We're here. We're getting no support on this national crisis, and we're receiving no support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just in Venezuela.
Good, you should get more. Exactly. When supporting illegal immigration goes wrong, you should get more. I hope 50,000 goes to New York City per month. I hope 100,000 goes to New York City per month. And Chicago. And LA. And San Francisco, the Bay. I hope they get 100,000 a month. It's what you voted for. Don't complain now. But what's crazy, if Donald Trump would have made these same comments, he would have been called a white supremacist, a racist. He hates minorities. Yeah, send them to New York. I'm all for it. I am all for it. But Eric went full xenophobic. They're going to destroy New York City. Shit, I might as well be in Joburg. If Donald Trump would have said the same thing, you guys would have called him a white supremacist racist who hates minorities, who hates black and brown people. That's what you guys would have said. Man, listen, I hope New York gets 50,000 a month. Send them up there. This is what you guys voted for. During an election, this is what you guys prided yourself on. You know, we welcome immigrants with open arms, no matter what. Hey, don't back out now. Don't complain now. I'm all for it. I support it.
Now we get Ecuador. Now we get Russian speaking coming through Mexico. Now we get Western Africa. Now we getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We got a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us.
Listen very closely to what he said. He said every service in the city is going to be affected. But this is what you voted for. That's why I cannot stand when people like Charlemagne get on TV. Oh, y'all don't know, y'all don't understand policy. See, y'all don't understand policy. See, I vote policy. I vote the policies. Well, the policy you guys voted for, that was priority, was immigration. Now, the rest of y'all shit getting cut. Oh, well. See, we vote policy. We voting for policies. Well, this is the policy you voted for. Y'all don't understand policy. And you know what? You know what's crazy? And see, this is the problem. I don't want them to. I don't want them to come down here. Because you know what? They're going to come running down here voting for the same stupid policy. Stay in New York. Stay in New York. Stay in New York. Don't come down here. Yeah, don't come down here. They're gonna come running down here voting for the same stupid policies. No, stay up there. Stay up there.
And so I say to you, as I turn it over to you, this is some of the most educated, some of the most knowledgeable, probably more of my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in this community. So as you ask me a question about migrants, tell me what role you played. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us? How many of you were part of the movement to say, we're seeing what this mayor is trying to do and they're destroying New York City? It's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be.
It's going to come to your neighborhood. Man, if this ain't no xenophobic shit. But again, like I said, man, if this were Donald Trump, you'll be a white supremacist. This is white supremacy talking points. Oh, they're coming to your neighborhood. They're going to rape your daughters. You know, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. You know, they're gonna push you out. You know, they're not gonna support your businesses. I mean, who cares? Let them come to the neighborhoods. This is what they voted for. I mean, if this isn't just flat out xenophobic, and again, what's crazy is this is what they voted for. This is who you voted for.
Be impacted by this. I said it last year when we had 15,000. I'm telling you now, with 110,000, the city we knew we're about to lose. And we're all in this together, all of us. Staten Island saying, send them out to Manhattan. Manhattan is saying, send them out to Queens.
Man, so Mayor Eric Adams is drawing a line in the sand. It's us versus the immigrants. I'm shocked. I mean, I'm shocked. I am shocked. It's us versus the immigrants. The immigrants that you supported the policies which empowered them. You supported this. This is hilarious. Guys, links in the chat room. Again, links in the chat room. If you want to call in and add to the conversation, please click on the link. If you want to call in and add to the conversation, please click on the link. Link is in the chat room. Link is in the chat room. Yeah. But again, link is in the chat room. And yes, don't. New Yorkers, stay in New York. Stay in New York. What's up, Chrissy?
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
That's good. I'm just confused because I could have swore the man said it was a sanctuary city.
It is a sanctuary city. New
So
York
why
is a
is it
sanctuary
that?
city.
I don't understand.
It's a sanctuary city.
So why? That's the. I wish there was like a journalist to push back. Like, but sir, a few months ago you stated we're a sanctuary city. We're a city of immigrants. We welcome immigrants. They can come here. We're not xenophobic. So I'm just confused. What happened? What's the problem?
But that's a good question. What happened? Like what happened? Because this is
yeah.
the, you know, these are the talking points, and this is the
I'm gonna answer that question.
The policies that they were pushing. Go ahead, Lamuba.
I think this is and as you know, I'm not a conservative or a liberal. I'm an independent Pan-Africanist. But I think this is what happens. So a couple of things. One, what you tend to have happen is if you disagree with liberals, you're considered immoral, right? And if you disagree with a conservative talking point or perspective, you're an enemy of the state. I would argue that this is an example of individuals seeking to be politically correct. And now, you know, the fruits, right? The chickens have come home to roost, and they realize that being politically correct rather than seeking to actually engage in politics in the interests of Black people in the Black community has come back to bite them in the derriere. So I think that's what took place. Now they realized, hey, we voted for this. We wanted a sanctuary city, and now we have a situation on our hands that we can't control.
But Lamuba, this is like the first time I've really seen a politician like step out in front and really say, like, dude, this is really
yeah, but right.
I haven't really seen
because what happens is they're just being politically correct. They aren't being honest. They're being disingenuous. They want to make everyone happy. We care about people's feelings rather than getting down to the nuts and bolts of the situation and saying, listen, we have and I say this all the time. You're a jet setter, right? I've traveled internationally. You can't just show up to a country. We don't expect you to show up to a country and say, let me in. There's a process you have to go through. And so I think part of this is that the media plays a role. We know there was a big push that people made about when Trump was in office, even though I'm not a Trump supporter, but I'm gonna make this point about, he's separating children from their families. Children are being put in cages. And I shared with one of my classes, I said, according to the New York Times, which is, of course, the newspaper of record, the New York Times said that the Obama administration deported more people than any other administrations in U.S. history. And they were putting children in cages and separating them from their parents. So this isn't an issue of the administration. This is U.S. policy, irrespective of who the president is.
May I answer your question, Chrissy?
Yeah, it does. Also, I don't understand why Biden is not helping and you can't send these people back home.
Why not?
Your president invited them here.
Why can't you?
I don't think
Biden invited. They came on behest. That's what I'm saying. Like the situation he created. The president of the United States, when he first came into office, invited the world to come to the United States. He invited them. You didn't see these droves of people when Trump was in office. He personally sent out a global invitation.
And the Trump administration argued that it was an invasion taking place. So we did see that there was like a migrant caravan coming during the Trump administration.
But it wasn't as it is now. It's like tenfold now. Biden invited these people here. These people then picked up their lives and came here because your president told them they can come. So I don't know what they're going to do. But I think it's wrong to invite people, have them uproot their lives, and then send them back home. So he's gonna have to figure it out.
But Chrissy, but the thing is, I think like one of the laws or rules when it comes to sanctuary cities, they can't deport you.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah, they can't deport you from sanctuary cities.
Oh, so New York City is a sanctuary city?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, so like, and here's the thing with me when I talk about immigration, I'm all the way down with Black people immigrating to America. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I really am.
I just see it as when you do certain things, there are consequences, right? And you have to be accountable. Now, the president of the United States invited these people to come here. So he's gonna have to figure it out. Him and his administration gonna have to figure it out without displacing the American people, because he invited them to come here. So I don't know what they're gonna do. I really don't. I don't know.
Sabu Gosana, my South African brother.
Oh, wait, what's up, man?
How are you?
Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear.
I'm good, man. I just want to contribute slightly. First of all, South Africa is not xenophobic, and I know you guys always accuse South Africa of being xenophobic. But I think what's happening in the US is that the US does have an infrastructure of with handling mass migration. So really at this time, the US does not or should not be complaining, unlike small countries like South Africa, which does not have the infrastructure in place to deal with forced migration. So I think maybe the policies of the Democrats is to allow what they would say is open border policy, but in our context, we say an open border policy would be a free visa, for instance, where people can move freely. But in the US, they say open border policy where anyone can come from South America and so on. But as far as South Africa, dog, we're not xenophobics, and yeah, stop saying that. Away.
And so I'm gonna put this question out here because you know what, we all were taught this when we were growing up in grade school. If you grew up here in America, that America is a nation of immigrants. So the one thing I would say is that I never tend to hear conservatives, Republicans, etc., taking an issue with people of European descent migrating to America. It tends to only be when there are people of color migrating. So that's just one thing I want to put out there. And Donis, I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, okay, so but don't technically Latinos from south of the border identify as white?
Well, I'm not trying to look. I'm not interested in what they identify as. I'm interested in what they actually are. Right? You have people identifying as men, women, all type of things. Right? But we know that white people don't view them as white. So, but if you could answer the question.
So the question is why people on the right don't
They
criticize.
don't take issue with immigration when it's Europeans or people of European descent, white folk, who are the ones immigrating. And I give you an example, and I want to stay on task, but want to give an example where the conversation was about immigrants coming to America, having anchor babies, etc. When Trump's wife, I don't know, Ivanka Trump, whatever her name is, that's what she did. She immigrated to America, then she had an anchor baby. So you don't tend to hear that type of vitriol and rhetoric against immigration when it's white people engaging in the very behavior that white conservatives and Republicans take umbrage with. That's all I'm saying.
No, but they did with the Irish though at one time.
Well, but we're talking about now. I'm talking about now. I'm talking about contemporary.
All right. So then my question would be: are white immigrants immigrating here to America on the same numbers at the same rate as non-white immigrants?
I would say no, but they are in the top percentile.
Because I just don't see like a bunch of so-called white immigrants on the same level as I do.
Well, but I would say this, Dinas, that's an anecdotal experience. You may not see black men protecting black women. Doesn't mean that it's not taking place.
No, I don't think okay. What's the let's push the what's the numbers? What's the numbers behind who immigrates from where?
Give me a second. Give me a second.
Because I lived in LA.
Dennis, one of the problems that the US is when it comes to white Europeans is that they often prefer them because obviously they've got skills, maybe they are doctors, and the first people to leave a country that is collapsing are people with skills and with investments, and therefore they would be preferring whites in that respect to immigrate to the US. Obviously, there's a value added benefit in that because they will spend, they will invest, and they'll create jobs and be meaningful citizens in the US. But the Latin Americans, for years, they've been brain drained in terms of skills. People who left earlier in Latin America, even in Africa, those who are skilled, they've left. But now, the people who are following are obviously people who with no skills, and they are in a situation where their country is collapsing, and therefore the resistance is from the poor Americans who are saying, "Oh, these people are going to take our jobs and everything," and so that's where the panic is actually coming from. That's what I'm observing.
Okay, go ahead, Alan.
I can answer your question, Dinas.
Go ahead.
So CNN, this is April 2023, states what? The top countries of origin in the United States in 2023 up until April of this year was Mexico, India, China, the Philippines, El Salvador, Vietnam, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, and Korea.
Yeah, so you're proving my point. I don't think white people come into contact with white immigrants, illegal immigrants, at the same rate as non-white.
Well, and I can agree with that. All I'm saying is that they don't take issue with immigration when it's a white person. That's all I'm saying.
But a lot don't come over here.
I get that. All I'm saying is they don't. Even when it was a lot of people, white people coming over here. Remember, up until what the late 1960s, the immigration policies was to let in with an influx of Europeans and very few people of color. So all I'm saying is, even when they don't have a problem when it's white folk immigrating. That's all I'm saying. And you know that if you're being intellectually honest, you know that that's true.
You're saying that to say what, Lamont? Because we know that already. We already know who we're dealing with.
Okay, I'm just making that point. Just put that out there. Now, the brother was talking about this issue of competing for jobs. That's always been an issue, right? In terms of competing for jobs, right? So I'm just cognizant of that. But for me, as a Pan-Africanist, I would keep that same energy, irrespective of the racial or ethnic if the racial and ethnic background of the immigrant is non-black. If it's a black person, you, my brother, my sister, let's get this work. But anyone else, I would take that type of issue. I'm just someone who seeks to be consistent across the board.
Yeah. Well, I think this situation is very simple to break down. This is basically, and I can see both sides of this issue. The Republicans are just become very shrewd with how they want to do things, and people in Republican areas. These people are being shipped from other areas and sent to New York City, sent to San Francisco, sent to all these urban centers that are Democratic strongholds, and they're pretty much saying, you said you wanted to have sanctuary cities. Well, sanctuary means sanctuary. You can sanctuary all these people. And so they're sending the people there and then watching the people collapse. Eric Adams is just the first person to actually yell ouch from this, because he's realizing that they've sent over 100,000 people over there that he doesn't have the ability to fully deal with. And so that's what this is all about. This is a very shrewd political moves by people, because we have the infrastructure in America to handle these people, but everybody has to participate. Well, people in the red states aren't participating in this, and so they're shipping to places, blue states, where people, where they claim to care about these people for their votes, and they say, you deal with them, and then watching everything crumble around them. And that's what's happening. That's why Eric Adams is so upset.
Well, right, but the Republicans have always been like, he brought up Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott has always been clear that, there's no sanctuary cities here, and we're going to ship, these immigrants to sanctuary cities.
Correct. And that's a very shrewd move. Listen, I can see it on both sides. I'm not going to go ahead and claim that I don't see both sides of the issue. I'm just simply saying that, the reason why this has happened, the reason why Eric Adams is so upset, is because those people are being pushed over as a way to politically embarrass them, and it's working. And so now he's upset. When push comes to shove, you realize that a lot of these people don't care as much for the migrants as they claim to, right? And they were always political pawns in the first place. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're seeing happening before our eyes. And the Republicans did it on purpose to highlight that problem.
Yeah, and I would agree with you there. I think that's exactly what happened. They said, okay, you're going to support this, then you deal with it. And now that they're dealing with it, they realize that it was more than, it was actually what, like I said, chickens coming home to roost. This is not a situation that we and like I said, it comes down, in my opinion, simply to being politically correct rather than being politically honest, right? And now they have, to deal with this issue, and they don't have the capacity to do so.
I give Eric Adams some credit for actually admitting,
yes,
that he can't handle it.
But some would argue it's too late.
Right.
I mean, if New York is a sanctuary city, I mean, what did he expect?
Yeah, and the thing is, Alan, since it's a sanctuary city, he can't deport him.
Right.
But he didn't take any accountability, and that's what I didn't like about Adams. He's acting as if someone just sprung all of these people on New York City, like he did not also invite them to New York City. He's not taking any accountability. He said New York is a sanctuary city. We're a city of immigrants, and that's so. When they first was coming, it's like, yeah, that's not a problem. Because we are morally superior.
Right.
We're going to take folks in. So why did he not take accountability? He's playing victim, and he's not taking accountability. Because last time I checked, he initially welcomed these people into New York City until it got out of hand.
Right. Until it became too much. It was more than he could handle.
He got to take accountability.
Well, Democrats have to take accountability for having a policy that doesn't fall in line with federal laws.
Mm.
If you set up a policy that doesn't fall in line with federal laws, then this can be a tactic that can be used against you, and that's what's happening. They would say, you said you want to be a sanctuary city, fine, you take them, and now they do that. They've done that. It's not looking pretty. But I will give him a little bit of credit in that none of the mayors of these California cities that really started all this are admitting that they can't handle it. They're just watching people just suffer. At least this guy's is at least admitting, listen, I can't handle this. This is bigger than me. I don't know what's going on.
California doesn't care because California has Californians living on the street. So this is this is not new. This is kind of like status quo for them. You know, this level of chaos.
Got you. Good point.
You got a point there about Cali. That's why Dinah's got up out of there.
Yeah, got the hell up out of there, boy.
Yeah, they just passed a new bill. I don't know if you heard about it, and I don't mean to change the conversation. That you can lose custody of your children if you do not affirm their gender identity. I was just listening to that.
Come on, sister. You got to be capping here.
No,
you
I'm
got
not.
to pull up the link to that.
Okay.
Please pull up the link.
Okay, give me a second.
For a while, so
Please.
Okay, let me
California's going to follow that.
Yeah, I was just listening to it on Independent News. Kim Iverson, she was just reading through the bill or the law. It's a law now. Yeah, I'll pull it up. Give me a sec.
I love Kim Iverson. She's very good.
Guys,
Yeah.
hit the like button. The link is in the chat room as well. Link is in the chat room. Hey, my brother from South Africa, you have a lot of feedback, like background noise. So it's really static in the background.
Well, it's not me though. I've been hearing those.
No, it's you, because when I mute you, it goes away.
Oh, okay. Then let me mute myself.
Mr. Sandman,
But
go ahead.
can I just ask something?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Ask your question. Subu, ask your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the people who are so concerned about mass migration from the US, why is this concern not concentrated on government policies when the US government goes and loots the South American countries for all these years? But now, when the people have nothing, the obvious choice is to go back to the US or go to the US, and then it becomes a problem for the US government. So I think the problem should be to prevent this thing from happening from the US looting from other countries, specifically those coming from South America.
Yeah, that's the United States is a hegemon of the world, and that's just what the United States does. That's not going to change. The issue is that the politicians, the Democrat politicians, need to be on the same page with the federal government, and until they get on the same page with the federal government, then the Republican states are going to rightfully flood them with the people they claim to want to save.
Hey, go ahead, Mr. Sandman, and we'll pass it to Brandon. Go ahead, Mr. Sandman.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. That's what's up. Yeah, trying to make sense of this whole situation. With the Biden administration allowing so many immigrants into the country, you would think that they're doing it because they're trying to get the vote of the immigrants that they're allowing into the country. That's something that they can use for the election in 2024. But when you look at it, a lot of these immigrants go into sanctuary cities in states that are pretty much sewn up by the Democratic Party. You already know, Illinois is going to the Democratic Party in the Electoral College. You already know the state of New York and the state of California are guaranteed to go to the Democratic Party. So I don't necessarily understand why they would be pushing that in regards to gaining more Electoral College votes. You would think they would make these sanctuary cities in states like Texas, or swing states like South Carolina that they would want them to vote more Democratic so they could get more Electoral College votes. But if you try to look at it like long term, the birth rate here in the United States is at an all-time low. And the Democratic Party or the government in general has already told the American public that, they need more people, by getting rid of Roe versus Wade, right? And you look at the dynamics of our economic system here in the United States, right? They need more bodies. They need more tax dollars. They need more workers in the economy working, and they need more tax dollars. If you look at, for instance, Social Security is on the verge of collapsing. When Social Security was first implemented, they had 50 workers, 50 or so workers for each senior citizen that was on Social Security. That ratio is now more like 1 to 1. And on top of that, a lot of the previous administrations have been indiscriminately utilizing Social Security money for wars and things of that nature. So they need more tax money. They need more dollars. They need more bodies in the system. And I think Americans, black people, for instance, we killing each other, and our black women aren't making it, having as many babies. White women aren't having as many babies. Who's the perfect candidate? Latinos from Mexico and South America. Each one of them, each family is going to have 4 or 5 kids, and all of them are open to work. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only possibility, or why I would think that the administration is open to having an influx of Latino immigrants into the country. It must be because they need more workers in the system and more tax dollars to feed the government.
All right, go ahead, Brandon.
Hey, Dynas, let me know if my background is too noisy.
You all right? Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so what people don't understand is countries from around the world are looking at China and what they consider to be the success of China, being able to have a huge population that basically allows the government to operate with impunity. They live under an authoritarian dictatorship type government. And what America, being a corporation, sees in China is a very successful, workable business model. So as is the nature of business, the United States is trying to move more towards being like China, social credit systems, all this type of thing. The only problem is, in the United States, the Planned Parenthood genocide campaign has been too successful. So Americans do not want to have children because it's too expensive to raise children in America. So how do you grow your population when your population doesn't want to have children? You let immigrants in, and you want to type of immigrant, just like Sam mentioned. How do I know this is true? If you look at the interview, the most recent interview that RFK did with The Hill, he said, I went to the border. He said, the problem with the border is not the asylum seekers from Venezuela, Honduras, and South America. He said the problem at the border is the non-asylum seekers, the Africans, the Chinese, the Pakistanis, all these different groups of people that the United States of America does not want here. All you black people, you goofy, ignorant Negroes, listen to what RFK says on that interview. He's a damn racist, just like Daddy and his uncle before him, right? He said it clear as day. We want asylum seekers. We don't want Africans. We don't want Pakistanis and Afghani people. They want Mexicans, Hispanics. They want people who are going to come over here and from day one be working, pushing out babies for pennies on the dollar, right? That's what they want. Because why? They know the nature of a Latino immigrant. Because Latinos have been immigrating here for a long time. They don't cause a lot of trouble. They don't do terrorist activities, most of them. And there's a low risk to letting them come in your country. Also, you're allowed to go operate disingenuously in the country that they came from because you have a huge amount of that country's citizens in your country pretty much applauding you for doing so. But Eric Adams is a racist, obviously. He is a degenerate, obviously. He is someone who says one thing and does another one. And he also is a populist. He just goes with whatever is popular. In the beginning, the Governor Abbott and these guys were racist, from what Eric Adams was saying. Now he's turning into the same racist that he accused them of being, or the same xenophobe. Why? Because the people of New York still and these Sliwa and all these guys, they've had it. And he knows that if he doesn't do something about it, he's going to lose power. So these politicians, they change their opinion according to what the people think is best. Only problem is when you get the people, like on the national stage, who are just so damn asleep and ignorant and lazy that they're just going to let stuff happen because they don't feel like getting up and paying attention. You see all types of crap going on, like what's going on with the Democratic Party. And Dinus, allow me a shameless plug. An example of that is the horrible, awful job that Cornel West, that damn bamboozling coon, did on the Jimmy Dore interview. He exposed himself as a Biden supporter, a neoliberal. He's everything we knew he was. But you Negroes want to act like he's something different just because he's a black man running for president. Cornel West ain't been at the upper echelon of political elitism for freaking 40 years for no reason. He is a perpetuator of everything that the demonic white man does. And he exposed himself when he was interviewed by Jimmy Dore. That's it.
So I just wanted to say, it looked like Lumumba left. It's I put it in the chat. It's Assembly Bill 957. If he's still listening, in California.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you don't inform the gender of your children,
You can lose custody. Yeah.
Yeah. And now you got a lot of women who are having battles with their boyfriends, husbands over their children, over custody. They're now encouraging their children to come out with different genders, say they're this side gender, because they know the fathers won't support it, but the mother knows that if the fathers don't support it, she automatically gets awarded custody.
Sick.
Crazy guys, hit the like button again. Please hit the like button. Links in the chat. Oh, Elvis, go ahead, Elvis. Go ahead, Elvis.
All right, thank you, Dinus. I hope you guys can hear me good. I would agree with Brandon on some of the things that he said, especially when in regards to Eric Adams. I think we all know when he worked at the NYPD, he had some, prejudicious practices, especially against Black people. Stop and frisk and some unethical policing that he did during his time at the NYPD. So certainly he has some bigoted tendencies. But I think the deeper issue is not just xenophobia, and you tend to see xenophobia when economic issues rise up. Things are a little bit hard, inflation, and after the pandemic, people are still trying to get the feet settled economically. So having an influx of immigrants is going to be unsettling for a lot of people. Cheap labor, competing against you. So I think that's the biggest problem. That's the bigger problem, is that the fact that a lot of people are struggling economically, and such that they're in fear of more immigrants coming in and taking jobs or competing against them for low paying jobs. So you always see that in Africa. We saw that in places like Zimbabwe and South Africa. When things are hard economically, that's when the divide tends to become more stark, because you see people who are different, who are willing to work for lower wages than you, and you tend to blame them. It's like that South Park episode. They took our jobs. It's something like that that's going on in this country right now. So New York, of all cities, is the most diverse city on the face of this planet. So it's a city built from immigrants. So to be xenophobic is almost oxymoron living in New York City. So I think it's a nationwide problem that is kind of being zoned in New York, because it's such a diverse place. But a lot of people are struggling, and more immigrants coming in is only going to cause more panic and more fear of losing their jobs and competing against more people. So I think that's the issue. But when Brandon is talking about these other things, that's just Republican, conservatives talking points. Every state have the right to make laws, and if California wants to make a law, it's up to the citizens. Brandon, you live in California, you can vote against it. You can hold your city council member accountable if you think it's an absurd law that shouldn't be passed, or a bill that shouldn't be passed. Go vote against it. California is the most liberal state in this country. A lot of liberal things that most of us don't agree with is happening in California, but you're living there. If you don't like it, you can move. Like they always say, you don't like it, move. So I'll leave it there. I'll pass the mic.
Hey, Dinus, have you ever been Have you ever been to Orange County? You went to Orange County when you lived in Cali, right?
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
What people don't realize is with the hyperinflation in cities like New York, LA, etc., the only people that will actually be able to live there are the super rich and the working class immigrants who don't mind living 15, 20 people to a house. So what everyone needs to understand that all this is social engineering, right? If you go to Orange County, the cities like Mission Viejo, Coto de Caza, Laguna Niguel, Laguna Hills, places that are super affluent where nobody on a minimum wage could afford to live there. How do you think the Mexicans who work in those businesses exist there? They live 5 and 10 to a house. So if everybody has a minimum wage job, guess what? They can afford to live anywhere. They can live on Park Avenue, right? So all it is the elites and the government socially engineering the situation to have the super rich and the workers who serve them be able to remain in the close proximity, which and eliminate the middle class. If nobody understands what's going on here, all this stuff is a part of the war on the middle class. They want to get rid of the middle class. So this place could look like Africa. So this place could look like China, Russia, where there's no middle class and it's just a bunch of rich ass people and a bunch of super poor people fighting with each other over crumbs, right? Everyone knows that. I don't know why Elvis always has to target me out. These are Republican talking points, all this stuff. I plan on moving to Africa. I'm not worried about what they do in California. What I like about California is there's a lot of money to be made out here. And guess what? I'm making it. My daughter's 15 years old. She ain't worried about her identity, okay? She's decided who she is, I believe. And also, at the end of the day, it's all about the parents. Who's raising these kids? California is not a place for weak families, people who don't want to take care of their kids, people who want to split up over frivolous bullshit, people who just are weak, right? You're going to have to be strong-willed to survive here.
There you go, Brandon. I agree with you. Strong families are necessary. And if a bill doesn't affect you, then all politics is local. If it's not affecting you, then you shouldn't whine about it. You have a strong family, your daughter know who she is. It's not gonna affect you. It's not gonna affect 70 to 80% of the people in California.
But I didn't bring it up. It was actually Chris who brought that up. But I wanted to comment real quick on what Ellery said because Ellery, he's from somewhere else. I don't think he fully grasps what's going on in America. He makes a false statement. Oh, there were migration problems under every president. He included Trump in there. Look, go do your research, Ellery. Learn about how much Donald Trump reduced immigration at that border. It's one of the highlights of his campaign. It's one of the things he always brings up. And it's one of the few things that even Democrats and liberals cannot argue with him on. Trump reduced the crossing at the border in huge numbers. I'll give you credit too. Obama also reduced immigration across that border in large numbers because he was sending people up out of here. That's why they call Obama the deporter in chief. He was getting their ass out of here. Only neoliberal Biden in the pocket of China, the guy who has to sit back and allow China to flood this country with fentanyl because they got something on him. And Dynas, I make a lot of assumptions, Dynas. I make a lot of predictions. I haven't been wrong yet. You could attest to that. China and Russia, they have some type of dirt on Biden. That's why he can't stand up to them. That's why he has to allow the country to go downhill because they have some type of dirt on him that he cannot allow to get out. What do you think, Dynas?
That's well, you already know he has the whole situation with Ukraine allegedly with him and his son.
Let me just push back before Brandon spreads conspiracy theories. The point is, Obama followed the law. He's a lawyer, or an astute lawyer as that. Most of the people he sent back are people who committed violent crimes. And when Republicans talk about being for rule of law, Barack Obama was exemplifying that by sending those who broke the law. Being here, even getting your citizenship for those of us who are immigrants, is a privilege. It's not a right. So if you break the law, you forfeit your citizenship and you can be deported. And that's what Obama did. And he was right for doing that. Are Republicans saying that he was wrong for deporting criminals, people who broke the law, especially committed violent crimes? Of course not. So he agrees with your conservative ideas in that regards, Brandon. I think you should give him props for that.
I gave Obama props. I don't even know why you disagree with me. I said he was getting them up out of here and he was doing it legally. That's why the Mexicans was protesting against him. He was coming to California. Obama did a service to this country. Get their ass up out of here. And while he's at it, he could get your ass up out of here too, Elvis.
I've never committed a violent crime. I'm a good citizen. I'm working. I'm making money. I'm taking care of my family. I'm a good immigrant.
What's your address and what you go to? I'm trying to see something real quick.
No, there was an echo when Elvis had his mic, when he was on mic. When he had his mic on. Let's see here, guys. Hit the like button. The links in the chat room. You can call in if you want to add to the conversation. Again, link is in the chat room. So, Brandon, how do you think this is all going to play out in New York?
I hate to say it. In New York, everyone's going to end up leaving, and it's going to become the city of immigrants and the super rich. New York will look like California. Like California is the zenith of neoliberal policy, and that's why you left, Dynas. You're not a broke dude. You're not a dude who can't earn, but you understand that being in California is like fighting a battle up a steep hill. You always starting from the bottom, way down in the bottom, and you're digging your way out. They don't want you here. They don't want anybody who's making $50,000 or more a year here, unless you are willing. No, they want a bunch of people making $20,000 a year here, so that they can shack up in these overpriced apartments, and the rich can roll the streets of LA without traffic and beater cars and lemons rolling down the side of the highway. But yeah, it's just going to be like that in New York, unless people stand up and do something about it, which it looks like the people of New York are starting to push back. And I really believe that in 30 years, you're going to see a major change in this country. This political map will not look the same, because I just feel like people are waking up. My most liberal friends are hitting me up. Yo, you were right about Trump, bro. You were right about what was going on. Because now it's affecting them. See, people only support stupid shit when it doesn't impact them. But when it starts hitting them, think about it. Liberals are the most racist and selfish people on the planet. So it only has to affect them a little, and they're gonna jump ship.
That's not even true, Brandon. The reality is California is like a microcosm of capitalism. People are being, pushed out of the housing market because there's a lot of wealthy people and people who are well-to-do who live in California. So it's like being in a class and there's a curve. Your medium income in California is very high compared to other parts of the country. So a lot of low, earning people can't make it in California because there's so many high earning people that's living there and pushing them out. It's just, simple capitalism. For those of you who advocate for capitalism, that's it 101. When you have a place where a lot of rich people live, a lot of people with high income, poor people can't survive there because everything, all the prices are going to be higher. The price of goods are going to be higher. The cost of living is going to go up because people can afford it. But if you're poor and very poor amongst those very wealthy people, you can't cut it. That's just what it is. So it's not that California is so bad because of liberal ideas. It's that there's so many high earners that's living there, and really poor people can't make it there. It's simple.
You're actually wrong. You're actually wrong, because the thing that's destroying California is taxes and social programs. So socialism is really what's destroying California. When Gavin Newsom says, hey, we want to give every immigrant that crosses the border in California $1,200 a month in unemployment benefits, that's a socialist program that is being abused by the socialist, communist, Nazi governor of California. All the programs hyperinflate everything, giving people free money, giving people free housing, all this stuff, because what it does is it kills competition. Dynas, let me give you an example. If you got an apartment building and I got an apartment building and Elvis has a hut wherever he lives at, wherever he's from in the world, and we all rent those buildings out for $1,200 a month for a 1-bedroom, right? If I lower my cost to $900 a month, and everybody's renting in my building and people are moving out of your building to move into my building, what are you going to do, Dinus?
I'm gonna go to the cheapest building.
No, I'm saying if you own the building, what are you going to do?
You're going to lower your rent, right?
Yeah.
You're going to lower your rent, right?
But in
Now,
California, it's the inverse, Brandon.
wait, look. Now look at this is what happens in California. Me and you are competing. You have a building, I have a building, right? We rent our building, one bedrooms out for $1,200 a month, right? But you say, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna charge $2,000 a month for my one bedroom apartment, and I'm gonna accept HUD in Section 8 in housing, right? Housing vouchers. So now, guess what? The government is paying this person's rent for them. Does that drive the prices down and encourage healthy competition, or does that hyperinflate the prices and make the place unlivable for anyone who's not on social welfare programs?
That's not true, Brandon. Every state in this country has HUD subsidies. Every state has HUD subsidies. You know that.
What does that do? Does that hyperinflate the price, or does that drive the price down, facilitating healthy competition?
It drives it down.
It drives it up. It actually drives it up. Because the reason why landlords feel comfortable overcharging for apartments is because they know, hey, all I got to do is get a bunch of people on Section 8 up here, and the government's going to pay me. Now,
not Section 8. I know here in Atlanta, Section 8 isn't as popular as it once was. Is people still on Section 8 in LA like that?
No, yes, it's a lot of people on Section 8 in LA. And Section 8 keeps landlords who overcharge in business. Because if you see
Brand, I don't know, Brandon, because I know out here, like the Section 8 was actually driving everything down.
Right.
No, you are in a state that's conservative mostly. This is a liberal place. Section 8 raises everything because when the one landlord charges $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment, the other landlords around raise their rent to match what he's making. Because they say, wait, he's getting $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment. Why can't I get that? That inflates the price because the rent is not being paid by the person going to work and paying their rent. The rent is being paid by the government, right?
Not true, Brandon. You see, that's the point I wanted to make. For example, right where I live, the average in my neighborhood, the average rent price is like $1,800, right? Most people who are working, professional people, and maybe people who have decent jobs can afford it. But in California, where your average rent price is like $2,000, if you have somebody who's even making 40 grand a year, that's kind of steep. So Section 8 is going to subsidize a part of that person's rent to make them, to allow them to rent a decent apartment or a decent house for $2,000 a month, but still being able to work a $46,000 a year job, have a $46,000 a year income. So that's what's going on. They're not paying their entire rent. Most of these people are working and they're getting subsidies from HUD. That's the part you have to put in there, Brandon. The government is not paying their entire rent. Most people, in order to qualify for the subsidies, you have to pay a portion of your rent.
Listen, bro, what you're saying is true, but the way you're looking at it is actually wrong. Because if someone's making $48,000 a year, right, the rent for his apartment shouldn't be no more than 30% of his income, right? But if that person can go get on Section 8, he is willing to move into an apartment that is overpriced. Do you understand? So
because overall the housing prices in California is super high. So you're not going to find a place in California for $1,000 a month, especially in LA or anywhere around, the LA suburbs. So every price is in that area is going to be at least $2,000 or more, right?
If you let people truly compete, the prices will be driven down. If you remove subsidized housing totally, landlords are going to want to keep apartments rented. They don't give a shit about
you're going to have a lot more homeless people if you remove subsidies, Brandon. You understand that?
No, you're not. You're not thinking logically, because think about this. You think a landlord is going to have a whole empty building before he lowers his prices? I've literally experienced it. Landlords lower their prices to get their apartments rented. Am I lying about that, Dynas? That's why if you roll around,
I'm not a landlord, so I don't know. I know for a fact here in Georgia, communities that are heavily saturated with Section 8 renters are unattractive, and the shit is cheap. Right? Nobody's moving there.
Yes, why? Because nobody wants to pay their rent in those places, but that's behavior-wise. But what you're having in California is you have a lot of white people who are on subsidized housing. You got the guy the guy with the Crocs on, walking to get a coffee every morning, who looks like he might be a programmer or a coder. That dude is on Section 8. See, California, Dynas, you saw this in California a lot of times. You go in a nice store like Whole Foods, you in line, 3 white people in front of you look like they making money. They all pull out EBT cards. Am I lying or am I telling the truth?
I never paid attention to that, Brandon. I don't know.
Look, so I worked in a grocery store for a long time. You will see people who look like they got money, pulling up in Porsches, all that, pulling out EBT cards.
Yeah, but Brandon, it's easy to get an EBT card in California, in LA. Cause shit, I had one. I went to the county office off of Wilshire, walked in, said I ain't got no money for the most part, and walked out with $300 a month. This is back in 2009 on a card. It's easy. And I know actors and actresses and models that were doing the same thing. They would just go into the county office and walk right out with one in 30 minutes. So
Now, this is what I'm telling you. You just proved my point. If someone can go get an EBT card and eat, even though they work, right? They have no incentive to vote for legislation to drive prices down. So what it does is it basically puts a Band-Aid on the situation while prices go up. Then when that person, because they always take away the entitlements eventually. So then when they take away the EBT card or they change the qualifications, now that person who was living good on the EBT is looking at the price of everything like, what the hell is going on? I can't afford this. Well, yeah, dude, because when you were getting the EBT card, you were happy because it wasn't hurting you. But the whole time, they were raising prices. A person on EBT don't care about the price of a gallon of milk, but a person who's not on EBT does. Because the person on EBT is not feeling the hit of paying the extra prices. Does that make sense to anyone?
No, actually, no. Most people who apply for EBT cards, for example, most of them are single mothers, right? They're working, menial jobs. They're making $15, $17 an hour. When they pay their rent, pay all their other bills, they barely have enough money to buy food for themselves and their kid or their kids. So that EBT subsidize their food, for groceries and things like that. So it's going to help them out. So they're not worried about a gallon of milk, not because they can't go out and buy a gallon of milk, but the cost that it takes to feed a child for a month, they just can't afford it. So the government helped to subsidize them. So you're harping against all of these things that most of us benefited from as kids, and we're trying to cut them off. You think your parents would have survived raising a couple kids on a menial job, working 40 or 50 hours a week? Of course not. That help was very necessary then, and it still is for a lot of single mothers and a lot of poor families, Brandon.
I want to stay focused on what I'm saying, but the whole thing you don't understand is when people don't have entitlements and subsidies, they pay attention to what's going on politically more because it's costing them money. It's like me and Dynas. I don't know what you do for a living. When we were young, we didn't care about taxes because we didn't work and we didn't pay taxes. But when we started working and saw taxes coming out of our check, we started paying attention to taxes, which made us start paying attention to who was in office, what they were talking about concerning taxes. Am I wrong about this? It made us pay attention so we could vote against raising taxes and vote in favor of lowering taxes. You have too many people on government entitlements in California, which allows greedy people to hyperinflate prices. And
Look, Dynas just told you that he went and got an EBT card. Ask Dinus why he want to get that EBT card. Was it just for fun, or did he actually need it at that point in his life?
I needed it. I mean, so let me back up. Let me back up for a second. I'm gonna say yes and no. Could I have gotten a job and not need it? Yes, but I was on that actor. I'm in Hollywood. You know, I was living that lifestyle. So therefore, I didn't have a job. So I just went and got it.
Dinus, if we lowered the price, let's say this. If we lowered the taxation on gas in California, right? Because you know it's a high gas tax in California. You would have been able to keep more of your money in your pocket, which might have allowed you to afford your food to feed yourself properly, right or wrong.
I wasn't really driving like that.
Well, what I'm saying is California allows people to get free money and subsidies because people who are getting free shit don't complain about hyperinflation because they don't feel it. But in the long term, it hurts everybody. So Dinus shouldn't have needed an EBT card because food should have been affordable to the point where he could go feed himself without needing government assistance. Like if you go to Atlanta, food is cheaper in Atlanta than California. And most of the food is grown in California. Why? Because we've put so much taxes on shit in California, they have to raise the price just to get the shit on the shelf and into the store. Now, if we looked at the taxes, lowered the taxes, less people would need EBT because they would say, okay, I could go fill up a grocery basket with $100, like we used to do when I was a kid. But now, because of inflation, we can't do that anymore. So now people need EBT. And I don't know why Elvis can't grasp that simple concept.
No, the reason California is always going to have a quote unquote high inflation rate because there's so many wealthy people living there. If you lower the prices, the wealthy people, the things become way easier for the wealthy people, right? If you have 50 or 60% of your population who are making over $150,000 a year, and you have about 10% of your population who is making only 30,000 or lower a year, you don't lower the price for just the 10%. You have to have a middle ground. So then you subsidize the people who are way at the bottom, and then those who are in the middle class can afford it, and the rich also can afford it. I mean, Brandon, I don't know if you're an economist or you went to school for finance, but it's simple economics, especially when you're talking capitalism.
No, it's not simple economics. It's simple socialism, what you're talking about. And you,
Brandon, you know that there's the corporate welfare as well, right? Corporation getting welfare from the government as well. You want to talk about individuals, but you're not talking about these companies that's benefiting from the government on social programs as well.
We were having a good conversation. Now you're getting mad and emotional. What I'm telling you is,
I'm just asking you.
It's like saying somebody in the hood is going to use welfare to propel themselves to the next level. When you give people free money, it helps them. But what it does is it hurts the economy. And what it does is only ensure that more people will end up being on government assistance. That's why you have so many people in California on EBT, because giving people government assistance in California made the prices of everything explode way beyond any other. Listen, way beyond any other state. And I'm telling you, take a broke person and give them some money. They will pay twice as much for something as somebody who worked for their money because
Brandon,
they didn't have the money.
1 second. The cost to qualify for welfare, they're looking at the cost of living and where you live and your income. If they don't commensurate, then they will subsidize you. So if you're living in a place where the cost of living is $50,000 a year, in terms of rent and food and everything else, and you're making $36,000 a year, you're below that income threshold. So the government know you're going to struggle to make ends meet. So they'll subsidize you. It's not just because you want to get on welfare, so you go and get on welfare if you don't qualify for it. You have to qualify for it. You can't make $100,000 a year and get on welfare. You have to be below a certain threshold to qualify for it.
I don't know what country you live in, but where I live, people go to the county building before they go fill out a job application, bro. That's where I live, and I know that's a fact. people go to the county building before a young girl her mama will take her to get food stamps in a welfare check before she say, hey girl, go, they hiring down at Sears, go get a job. And what I'm telling you is what you don't understand. And what you already know this, Elvis, but you like to play dumb. Just like PPP loans, EDD scams, COVID relief checks, whether they went to the corporations or individuals, hyperinflated the economy. That's why we was looking at 14% inflation. Free government entitlement programs also hyperinflate the economy. It makes everything go up. It makes everything more expensive. Someone on Section 8 don't care about paying $3,000 a month for a one bedroom because they're only paying $13 a month for that. And the government is paying the rest. But when every other one bedroom goes up to $3,000, the people who aren't on Section 8 now have to pay more. That's called inflation. And inflation is caused by the overprinting of money, the artificial generation of resources. This is economics. You said, I don't know if you went to economics. I took one semester of economics, and I didn't need to take that to understand inflation. You're being disingenuous right now. And that's why they need to deport your ass up out of here.
What's inflation, Brandon? What is it? What is inflation? Okay.
You wanted me to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, just give us a rudimentary understanding of what inflation is.
Basically, inflation in the sense that we're speaking of is basically when the government overprints money and it drives down the value of that representation of value. It basically means you have a lot of empty. You basically have an overabundance of something.
When there's too much cash competing for less goods, when there's more cash competing for less goods, the prices of those goods goes up.
Which is what I just said. Thank you.
So it doesn't necessarily have to do with printing money, but it just if there's too much cash. No, inflation can be a microcosm. It can be in a small little village. It doesn't mean that the government printed more money. If you have a bunch of millionaires that move into a little village, the price for a cow is going to go up because most people can afford it. So the shepherds or whoever tend to cows are going to put their prices up because you got a bunch of millionaires around you that can afford $10,000 or $50,000 for a cow, right? So that's the point I make. It doesn't necessarily have to do with printing money. I'm just saying when there's too little goods and too much money, the prices for the goods goes up to meet the demand for the to meet the money.
And that is why I said in the context in which we're speaking, Elvis, you don't listen. I
made a clarification. It doesn't always have to be when government prints money. I'm giving you another form of inflation. It's not always due to overprinting money. That's the point I'm making as well.
What we're dealing with in America is the United States government is printing too much money, and they are also subsidizing too many programs, which is incentivizing people, one, not to work, two, it is devaluing our dollar, our representation of value, and that is causing regular people who work for a living and don't want to live on the government. We are getting a higher bill every single day.
Brandon, when you was growing up, were your family on Section 8 or welfare? Or you have anybody in your family who benefited from EBT or food stamps at the time when you were growing up?
Yes, one half of my family was on welfare, and one half, my dad's side, everybody worked. One side, everybody was on welfare. A bunch of lazy niggas who could have worked but just didn't want to.
That's why I don't understand. You always say like you have to be on either end of the extreme. There are people who are working, Brandon, but still need some subsidies to make ends meet. Everybody who is on quote unquote welfare is not people who are not working. There are people who are working but just not making enough and need that subsidy.
Brandon, can I just tell you something? Brandon, can I just chip in quickly?
Let me say this real quick. I'm gonna be done. Look, What you don't realize, Elvis, I don't know how long you've dwelled in this country. There used to be a time if you had a job, you didn't need to be on government programs. Now you have people who work, they're called the working poor, who need to be on government programs because of the welfare abuse and government entitlement abuse in the 90s, in the 80s, in the early 2000s. It inflated everything to the
Not
point where
true, Brandon. You ever heard about the 2008 mortgage crisis? That when the government printed hundreds of billions of dollars to build out Wall Street, that inflated the economy a lot. COVID also inflated the economy. So it's not just people, poor people who's inflating it because they're on welfare. The corporate build outs, that the government did, Obama did in 2008, that inflated the economy a lot. This past COVID-19 that happened inflated the economy also. It's not poor people. Stop blaming everything on poor people, Brandon. Come on.
Brandon, all the social programs that US provides to poor people, it's part of a stimulus for the economy. When inflation increases, it means more jobs. But the downside is that the prices goes up. So those what you call social programs, they do not destroy the economy. In fact, they aid it. So this issue that you have that it's creating a problem, it's not true.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the end of my conversation. I'm gonna hop off, guys. I think it's been enlightening.
reality is the proof is in the pudding. Everybody on the subsidies, they never make it to be these millionaires and I just need help a little bit and all that stuff, which I'm not against government entitlement, but I am against people being on that shit for life because that's what caused these situations. Black people are dumb when they turn their mind off when someone says they're gonna give them something free. We're witnessing that with the reparations shit. You got niggas talking about we can fix all our problems with reparations, knowing good and damn well giving a bunch of black people money is not about to uplift black people out of nothing. So I don't expect African American people to operate or speak honestly when it's concerning free things, because since the 60s, the 30s, we've been trading our success for free handouts from the government, our progress for free handouts from the government, and where has it gotten us thus far? Nowhere. So keep thinking the way you're thinking and see where it gets you. Elvis is lying to you. Elvis is going to get up and go to work every day. He knows exactly what I'm saying. But
yeah, Brandon, because I went to college. I have a college degree. I make a good living. There are people who didn't go to college who are working menial jobs who need that assistance, and I'm in favor of them getting it. There's nothing wrong with that.
You will sell losing politics and strategy to other people because you're doing well. Me, I'm being honest. You're not making progress on welfare unless you are like some of these people who put everything in their mom's name and then they got a Mercedes and they're living in a Section 8 house or apartment. This is what's going on.
But the social programs are just there to meet you. The social programs are only there to meet the recipients halfway. It's not a game changer. It's not a silver bullet to the economy or make you a rich person. It's simply just to meet you halfway. There are other programs like education. Maybe there are skills that the government has to provide to ensure that the citizens are actually equipped to be active citizens in the economy. But this idea that social programs are a silver bullet to economics, it's not true. But what I can say is that even the programs that are being handed to the people are even below the minimum wage. So, and what is great about that is that when the poor spends that money, they spend all of it, meaning that the entire money goes back to the economy and generates jobs for the economy. So, which is a good thing.
And Brandon, you always say I like to give anecdotal, evidence, but I'll give you one here, right? I have a friend. One second, Brandon. I'll let you talk. And this little example that I'm giving, I'm sure it happened for a lot of people, right? I have a friend. His mother was a single mother. At the time, she was doing a CNA job while going to school to be a nurse, and she was on government assistance. But after she went to school, got her degree, got her got her RN. She was off government assistance, and now she's making good money. Her son, who is one of my best friends, following his mom's footsteps and went and got a nursing degree. He's doing well. So she needed that help at that time, that lifting hand at that time as a single mother going to school and trying to take care of her son. She needed it. Worked hard, went to school. Now she's off it, but she will always remember that when she needed that help, the government was there to assist her. So when you're talking about the 1 or 2% of people who live on welfare for the rest of their life, that's anecdotal in itself. A lot of people are on welfare periodically, and then they get off, and they get a better job. Then maybe they go to school and get a better education, and then move up in the world. So doing
I
away
want
with
to
it
ask the
will hurt
question
a
to
lot more
Brandon.
people than
Brandon,
do a lot
how,
more
how
good.
do you create an economy? How do you grow an economy? Please answer that question. Can you please
Listen,
answer that question?
we're not doing African gang up hour. You talk, he talk. Now let me talk. Government, the same government that is giving them a helping hand is also taxing and inflating everything to the point where they need a helping hand. Do you ever? I know your family didn't come from this, didn't live here in the 30s, 40s, the 20s. People used to pay a nickel for a gallon of milk, Elvis. How did that gallon of milk become $5? Because of inflation. Where did inflation come from? Inflation came from the government producing too much money, artificially raising prices, right? So if you let people handle their own shit, we will keep everything affordable because people want to sell, people want to buy. When the government starts injecting its heavy hand into economics, local economics, all it does is destroy the economy. Example, San Francisco right now, New York right now, LA right now. You have a bunch of entitlement programs, bunch of government money being funneled into those places. What is it doing? It is hyperinflating the entire economy to where people can't
Not
even live there.
true. Not true, Brandon. One of the things that's inflating the economy is the debt, the United States debt that they owe to China. They have to print money every year to try to service that debt, and that's devaluing the dollar. That's inflating the economy as well. It's not poor people. Stop trying to make it seem like all inflation is based on poor people. Sure, it plays a small part of it,
Brandon,
but the
how
bigger
do you
picture
grow
is
an
the
economy
U.S. debt
without
that they have
inflation?
to service to China.
Anything
That's
about
what's
poor people.
helping
How do you
inflate.
grow?
Anything about poor people.
How
I'm
do you
saying
grow an
something.
economy without inflation?
Listen, one half of my family was on welfare. Every nigga in that side was lazy, didn't want to work. People that's 19, healthy, strong, trying to live off the government. Elvis, you're not going to be able to convince me because I've lived it. I've lived it. And those people to this day are still trying to pilfer from the government. Why do I got an uncle who's 47 and never had a job? Never. Ain't nothing wrong with him. Why do I got an auntie? She's 42, never had a job. Just recently, she talking about, I'm going to go enroll in school. I have siblings who never had a job. Those people are not in need of anything. Those people are lazy and they are abusing government programs. And there are millions, and mostly they white, of people who are abusing government programs. The government needs to trim the fat. And we also need to stop the wars and all that waste money and hyperinflate stuff too. I don't believe in corporate welfare, and I don't believe in welfare for bums, people who don't want to work. There
How
needs
do
to be
you
a.
create an
Well, you
economy
you sure
without
talk about
inflation?
the quote
I'm
unquote
asking you a
bums
question.
welfare more than you talk about the corporate
Elvis, can you just hold on
welfare.
a minute? I just asked a question to how do you grow an economy without inflation? If inflation is such a bad thing to you, Brandon, how do you grow an economy without inflation?
Say that again. I didn't understand what you said.
Since inflation is such a bad thing to you, how do you grow an economy without inflation? Because inflation is good because it's a proof that the economy is growing.
I know you're an economist, but I don't agree with you on that. The economies grow based on how much of value is being retained in the economy. So how many times something changes hands is what grows the economy, not overproducing the representation of value artificially and making people feel like they're richer than they are.
That's capital velocity, you know.
No, you're definitely wrong. Let me explain this to you. Spending increases inflation, but spending also spending drives employment, because when you spend money, people are able to produce more, and when they're able to produce more, they are able to employ more people. So that's how the economy grows. But the only downside is that the prices are increasing as well as employment. That's why the Federal Reserve is trying to lower inflation by what? By increasing the repo rate, meaning that they're intending to cause harm to the economy by ensuring that people do not get employed, and by that way, people do not spend in the economy. And therefore, if they don't spend in the economy, then the inflation prices will lower, because there's a full supply of products in the economy, but no one is buying. So therefore, the producers would have to lower their prices in order to ensure that their produce gets bought, which is deflation. Do you understand?
Man, listen, I understand that you guys are African, like you guys are from African countries, so the idea of the government giving you free shit is like, that shit's amazing. And I'm not saying people in need don't need help.
What you think people in Africa get welfare from the government, Brandon?
You answer me. I didn't interrupt anybody. What I'm telling you is the Africans who come here and make progress and become successful in a couple of years, they are a testament to exactly what I'm saying. Those people come here with nothing. In 3 years, they got homes, they own apartment buildings, they got businesses. We have a culture in America of lazy degenerates who sit up on government entitlement programs for decades, and it is a strain on the economy, just like corporate welfare is a strain on the economy. I'm talking
more so than the poor people, Brandon.
Talking about my community and what needs to happen for my community to make progress. We need to seriously vet these people who are receiving these entitlements, because all they do is strain the local economy and raise a bunch of degenerate ass entitled kids who make your neighborhoods unlivable. There is a connection between all of this shit. There's a connection between all of this stuff, and I have I've had the blessing of growing up amongst it. I can see the connection. Diners can see the connection.
All right, guys. I think that's it. I'm gonna hop off. I think maybe Brandon's gonna close out.
Something happened to Brandon. So, hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, Diners Mirror, search for Huru. Peace.